Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever really thought about the science hiding right there in your kitchen or bathroom? Well, today we're diving deep into technology in everyday life. And hey, if you've got exams coming up, you're going to want to pay close attention. Think of this as your ultimate study guide. We're going to break down all the key ideas so you can walk into that test feeling super confident.
So let me ask you a quick question. When you hear the word technology, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably laptops, smartphones, that kind of thing, right? And you're not wrong. But what if I told you that the soap you use every day, or even a simple plastic container, is also a piece of technology? It totally is. Technology is really just the science behind the stuff we use all the time. All right, so here's our game plan for today. First, we'll look at how science shows up in our daily routines. Then, we're going to get our hands dirty, well, figuratively speaking, and learn how to make bioplastic. After that, we'll dig into the chemistry of toothpaste, settle the big soap versus detergent debate, and then we'll wrap it all up with a lightning-fast review of the stuff you absolutely have to know for the exam. Okay, first up, let's bring the science lab right into your home. This section isn't about some complicated abstract theory. Nope. It's all about the real-world science that makes the products you use every single day actually work. We're going to zero in on 3 big processes that are super important for this chapter. We'll walk through how to create bioplastic, how to mix up some basic toothpaste, and the exact reaction needed to make soap. Honestly, if you can get these 3 down, you are going to be in fantastic shape for your exam. Let's kick things off with our first major topic. We all know regular plastic is a massive problem for our planet, right? But what if science had a solution? Well, it does, and it's called bioplastic. This is a really, really important topic, so let's get right into it. So what in the world is bioplastic? Simply put, it's a replacement for regular plastic that's made from natural stuff, what scientists call biomass, like cornstarch. Now here's the most important part, the thing you have to remember. It is biodegradable. That means it can break down naturally, unlike regular plastic. That is the #1 key difference and a huge win for the environment. And you know what's so cool about this? The recipe is incredibly simple. You only need 3 things: starch, something called glycerol, and some distilled water. That's it. For your exam, make sure you have these 3 ingredients memorized. The whole procedure can be boiled down to 3 easy-to-remember stages. First, you mix and dissolve. Second, you heat and thicken. And finally, you pour and dry. Mix, heat, pour. Easy, right? Now let's look a little closer at each of those steps. Okay, step 1. And listen, this is where the details really matter for getting top marks. You need to know these specific amounts: 15 grams of cornstarch, 5 grams of glycerol, and 200 milliliters of distilled water. Jotting down those exact numbers in your answer shows you really know what you're talking about. Next up is the heating phase. The mixture gets warmed to about 70 degrees Celsius, and you have to stir it the whole time. So why all the stirring? Well, that's to make sure everything mixes together perfectly so it can gelatinize, which is just a fancy word for turning into a thick, jelly-like goo. That's the exact consistency we're going for. And for our final step, you take that thick, gelatinous mixture and pour it into a mold. Then you just let it dry, maybe with a little bit of gentle heat, until it hardens into a solid, dry piece. And there you have it. You've just turned simple powders and liquids into a real, solid, eco-friendly material. How cool is that? All right, let's switch gears. We're moving from plastics to personal care. Have you ever actually looked at the ingredients in your toothpaste? Let's polish up our knowledge on the simple chemistry that keeps our teeth sparkling clean. Just like with the bioplastic, the ingredients for a basic toothpaste are things you might have heard of. We've got 5 grams of baking soda, 1.5 grams of sodium chloride, which you probably know is regular table salt, another 1.5 grams of calcium carbonate, and 4 milliliters of glycerine. Those are the basic building blocks. Now, the method here is really important. The first thing you do is mix all those dry, powdery ingredients together. Then, you slowly add the liquid glycerin. The glycerin is what holds everything together. It's the binder that turns all that powder into the thick, smooth paste that we recognize as toothpaste. Okay, time for our third and final topic, and this one is a total classic on chemistry exams: soap versus detergent. I mean, they both clean stuff, right? But the science behind them, how they're made, and especially how they work, is actually pretty different. And yeah, you're definitely going to need to know why. So let's start with good old-fashioned soap.
The basic recipe is ancient. It all starts with some kind of fat or oil. You take that and you heat it up with a strong alkali like lye and some water. This simple chemical reaction is how traditional soap has been made for centuries. Now, this whole process has a really important scientific name, and I guarantee you'll see this on your test. It's called saponification. Say it with me, saponification. It's the official term for the chemical reaction of making soap. It's the hydrolysis of fats or oils with an alkali. You've got to remember that word.
So what is the big difference between soap and detergent? Well, soap is made from natural things like fats and oils. Detergents, on the other hand, are synthetic. But here it is, the single most important difference you need to know. Detergents work great in hard water, but soap, not so much. Detergents are specially designed so they don't form scum with the minerals in hard water, which makes them way better for things like washing clothes. Wow, we have covered a ton of ground. So before we wrap up, let's do a quick rapid-fire review to make sure we've locked in the absolute must-know facts for your exam. You ready? Let's do it. If you only have time to memorize a few things, make it these 3 terms. First, bioplastic. Know that it's a biodegradable plastic made from biomass. Second, saponification. That's the chemical process of making soap. And third, detergent. The key thing to remember is that it's effective in hard water. Got it? Those 3 are essential. Okay, beyond just the definitions, you're also going to want to know the processes. Really focus on memorizing the step-by-step procedure for making bioplastic from starch and for preparing soap using saponification. If you can write out those steps in order on your exam, you're going to show you really know your stuff. And that is a wrap on your ultimate study guide for technology in everyday life. We've seen how pretty basic chemistry helps us make everything from plastics to toothpaste to soap. It really makes you wonder, with science getting more advanced all the time, what's the next everyday item we'll be able to make from just a few simple ingredients? Something to think about. Good luck on your exams!